Hello and welcome to our weekly talk show, The Interview, in our special segment on the civil services. My guest today needs no introduction. Yet for those who do not know or perhaps may not remember, as a police officer, she challaned the Prime Minister's car. For her daring, she was nicknamed Kiran Bedi. For her daughter, she was Mama Police. We have with us none other than Dr. Kiran Bedi, a cop turned writer turned politician. Not enough to introduce her because the list of her achievements is long. Indeed, very, very long. Dr. Kiran Bedi, Mama Police and Kiran Bedi in this edition of our weekly talk show, The Interview, in our special segment on the civil services. Welcome to the show, Dr. Kiran Bedi, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Kumkum.
The gang war in the Tihar Jail has been in the news. What is your take? Take me through the why and how of it, given that at one point you were in charge of the Tihar Jail.
I think, Kumkum, we have ganged them up together. The gangs have got ganged up in the prison, which I think is strategically avoidable. Delhi should not house all of them at one go. They can be spread out within Delhi prisons, spread out within NCR and spread out. So I think because there's a new tendency of the gangs using prisons as a platform to continue the gang warfare.
Interesting terminology. Yes. Gangs have ganged up. Just explain this a little.
Because you gang them up, you bunch them all together in one high security prison, 2 floors. Even if it's one to a cell, they are contiguous, they're neighbors. And after all, one day sometime you'll open them up and they look for the other. So never gang them up. Spread them out. Space them out. Nobody should know who's where. And then do videographing from there. So do not even gang them up even in the courts. And keep changing their cell. I think that's where we've gone wrong. We've lost out on the rules. And these are, by the way, rules written in the manuals, which have not been read or not applied strictly.
Or violated.
Obviously violated.
Willfully.
Knowingly. Probably, ignorantly, because none of them are trained. None of the prison officials, the civil servants, public servants who get posted to the prison, where is the induction? They don't get inducted. From top to bottom, you learn by trial and error. So the minimizing is yours, maximizing is in your hands, the way you deliver, the way you lead, the way you supervise.
You mentioned videography. The CCTV footage shows that the police did not act on time when Tejpuria was stabbed.
Kumkum, I think one of the biggest drawback of our prison system and even in the way we have deployed our CCTVs, we are not auditing them. We are not watching them. We are not documenting them. We are not learning lessons out of them. Because if the CCTV is in fact the best because it's an eye which doesn't get tired. It's watching you 24 hours. But somebody has to watch it. And somebody has to sequence the watch. The concept of auditing CCTV doesn't exist. If you audit by an Excel sheet, what has been planned, what has been seen, do you know even a bird cannot fly into a prison without getting recorded in the camera. So where's the question of any knives being made and conflicts coming up? So you can see any development through the video camera. But somebody has to be watching it, trained eye, then changed eye because the eye gets exhausted by almost 20 minutes a turn. It gets used to it. It's like an editor. You were a writer yourself. You get the eye where you start missing out the commas and the full stop. We do not have a concept or a professionally trained auditors of cameras, whether it's policing or others, but certainly in prisons, because here you're only watching what's happening in the barrack who's moving out where, who's meeting whom. Even conversations can be bad because you have a right to do this. The point is, we have not got the system in place of auditing what we are observing. That only means we've got cameras, but we're not using them rightly. We are not trained to use them rightly, and we're not documenting rightly, and we're not reviewing it rightly. That means the leadership of the prisons, supervisors starting from deputy superintendent and onwards, they need to audit the day's development of what happened inside the cell or inside the prison. That's the moment you do that, you cannot have gangs in gang war.
You know, the jail officials, I'm told, tried using the siren, but the button did not work and the guards were unarmed.
It's a question of siren not going. Why don't we do trials? Why don't we do mock trials? Why don't we do rehearsals? Why don't we do drills? And by the way, every warder should have a whistle in their pocket. Many don't have it. Whereas it's a whistle which blows, they blow out something observed, they blow, and that's when the alarms go and the sirens come. And then everybody takes their right positions. Watching cameras, having these drills, changing cells, ensuring what comes into their cells, who meets them. You cannot have gang warfare.
Courts have pulled up the authorities for collusion with inmates. Did you find this during your tenure, and if yes, how did you correct it?
We brought in cameras at a later stage because prior to that we didn't have the resources to bring in cameras. It was all direct intelligence. We had a feedback box and it was a locked box. It was called the IGP's petition box, and it was a locked mobile box which used to go into every barrack. Every prisoner could write a letter to put a letter in this box. I only had the key. In the evening, 1 hour before leaving for home or closing my day, I would open the box, bring out all the letters which had come. Information came.
How many letters did you get in a day? How many petitions did you get in a day?
I have 4 trunk loads, which I received during my time. 4 trunks. And earlier, there were hundreds. You know, they packed. Then it trickled down. And once it trickled down, I used to go back to say, मेरे से नाराज हो, क्यों नहीं चिट्ठी लिखते? Say, ma'am, सब तो कुछ आप तो सुन तो रहे हो तो रहा है. Our panchayat system was wonderful. It was like teacher panchayat, festival panchayat, education panchayat, counseling panchayat. We used to call it gruesome panchayat. So there were multiple ways of connecting, but the gangsters were all isolated. Gangsters were never part of this system. They were all one to a cell, also having spiritual books to read, also having counselors visiting them to soften their mind. So we had these internal systems but later on we also came up with cameras. Now you have best of technology. We never had those jammers, none, all physical, all artificial intelligence need, augmented intelligence. Prisons needs augmented intelligence from all directions. And that's how and then of course we had the media walking in.
I was just coming to that. You had the media walking in, for which you were severely criticized.
That's okay. But you know what? Media became a spokesperson for us. Delayed trials. Otherwise, how do I tell the judiciary what's happening? So they were not allowed to meet any gangster. They were allowed to see the activities around and talk to the staff. They could feel the prison and also get to know who's getting languished. And you know, because of those news items which I think you too was probably reporting that at that time, it became PILs and it became time-bound expeditious trials.
Why is Tihar Jail, which is Asia's biggest jail, guarded by officers from, say, Tamil Nadu? You know, what sense does this make?
It was only to break language barriers. See, it's traditional when you don't want the Hindi to Hindi. So basically, let there be a language barrier. Also, no village relationship, no caste relationship, no region relationship, no geography. So there's no relationship. You don't know each other.
One of the reasons, one is told, is the complicity of the cops. And as you said, to break the language barrier. Does state affiliation have anything to do with corruption and complicity?
Not only state affiliation, caste affiliation. Castes are known, same caste with a particular gangster or a particular criminal works. Same village works. Language is one issue. Here's a caste factor. Caste, even sometimes faith-based. So one has to be careful where relationships get built. That's why I'm saying keep changing the cell, keep changing the prison. He should not know where is he tomorrow. And also keep changing the warders.
When you say faith-based, what does it mean?
Can be. It's a faith. It's actual mera bhai, mera guru bhai, ye mere guru ka chela, something like that. So I think that's where I'm not mentioning any faith, but it was faith-based. So that had to be checked. So you have to change people, change cells, and bring in a lot of unpredictability. Where and who will this particular prisoner will relate with?
So a lot of homework must go in.
Every day. It's a regular work. It's not once in a while. It's a daily chore where the senior staff walks, reads the petition box, connects with people, talks, sees, feels, hears.
Of course, you have answered part of it in the beginning, but let me still ask you, how can and how should prisons prepare to deal with violent gangs?
As I said, don't gang them up. Spread them out completely. And most important, which is not happening, I think, is the police is not informing the prisons who's coming. Particularly in the gang when they should have a red flag. Here's a red flagged man coming to you. This is his background. They only get the offense. They do not get the who. So they should know he's a red flag man. So that means the lodging has to be immediately taken care of before damage is done. Even if it's short notice, you have lodged him somewhere. Pull him out immediately the next day, because that information coordination between police and the prisons must be established, where gangsters, particularly in violence prone, are informed, prison authorities are informed who's who.
What has changed or not changed, gone from bad to worse since you were in charge of the Tihar Jail?
I think the kind of officers posted. Look, I succeeded, I didn't succeed as an individual. It was a great team. They were all above board. That's missing. I think the kind of people who got posted at all levels were people who didn't have their heart in this, neither inducted nor people with great reputations. So you had a mixture. You have one bad egg, one bad apple, it starts polluting the rest. And then you had moneyed people coming in, many moneyed people who start to buy up the system. So you had it both ways, the receiver and the provider. So receiver was willing to take, providers willing to give and buy all the comforts. And that's what polluted the system.
Let me ask you a personal question. What has made you so spiritual and religious?
Upbringing from the childhood, and more on human values. You know, when I wrote the IPS, that's where I will give you the indication. When I was 21 years old, the column in the Indian Police Service form was religion. I didn't write Hindu, Sikh, whatever. I wrote humanity. And in the interview board, I was asked, so are you an Abu Ben Adam? I was asked this question. I said, I believe in karma. I believe in righteousness. I believe in integrity. I believe in service. I believe in giving. I believe in care. So I think that is what happened. For me, this is spirituality. Religion happens to be, I may worship any deity, or I may also go to Gurdwara or anywhere else. But for me, question is, what do I do after I pray?
What do you do after you pray?
Right action, right deed, right thought, right conduct. It's that. I'm more of a Buddhist in this. Is right action, right? So Buddha says, take charge of your karmas, take charge. And that's what you do. Where I've cared for anybody, I've had care. I've had love. Where I've done something unselfishly, I've got better results. So I think that's what has been my spiritual strength.
What about the controversies which have dogged you and those which have perhaps haunted you?
Kumkum, what you may term as controversy, I would say I've been very decisive in my life, very clear what is needed. And I have not served for myself. I belong to the service, and service now belongs to me. I'm there for a reason, for a cause. I'm not there for myself. I'm here to serve the people, to serve the larger cause, uphold the law, and not be subservient and not be a servant and a slave. I'm not a public servant. I'm a public service officer. I'm not a status quo by nature. I reinvent myself. I recreate myself. I'm willing to learn something new and experiment something new. I don't waste myself. I've constantly reinvented to address problems. So when I address problems and there are new solutions, they change the status quo and they make certain people uncomfortable. For instance, corruption. If I'm hitting corruption, it's obviously hurting some people who was used to this corruption. Or if I'm not favoring somebody, it hurt somebody who was being favored. So that's what leads to a controversy. If that is a controversy, that's fine.
You said you're not a public servant and you are a public service officer. I agree. But in politics, when you joined politics, you did become a public servant. So tell me the transition.
Oh, that service again. It's not a servant, it's a service. Oh, while campaigning those days, many people were asked, अच्छा हमें वो एडमिशन करा दोगे स्कूल की, अगर हम आपको वोट देंगे तो आपको ये हमारे स्कूल में एडमिशन करा दोगे? I said, अगर रूल्स परमिट करेंगे, सी रूल्स परमिट करेंगे तो that means नहीं वोट देना तो ना दो. Why do you think I lost? Because I never conceded to all this. Then they said, अच्छा ये नाली बड़ी गंदी है, ये नाली साफ करोगे? Very strange. So I said, मिलके करेंगे, लेकिन मैं करवा दूंगी. अच्छा ये बिजली फ्री दे दोगे? I said, बजट के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है, अगर बजट होगा तो मिल जाएगी, अगर बजट नहीं होगा तो इनकम जनरेट करेंगे, आप टैक्सेस देना, इनकम जनरेट हो जाएगी, आपको बिजली मिल जाएगी. I never gave any false assurance or assurance I could not believe on. You think I was liked? I was not liked.
So what are the lessons learned and what are the lessons unlearned?
Well, the learned lesson is, I think I'm glad I forayed into the political thing to know that's not for me at all. I was in the wrong place.
From wielding the baton, which you did very well, rather well, maybe sometimes more than should have, to the pen, to being a governor. It's been a long, challenging tenure. What have been the roadblocks? Looking back, how would you sum it up?
I've had no roadblocks. I've only made my choices. I'm a very self-directed person, and knowing my clarity in what I want and how much I want. Writing was not immediately my strength, but it became a product of excellent happenings, which I thought it's my duty to document. So therefore, I've documented everything. I've documented my police work through my book, I Dare. I've documented the prison reforms through a book, It's Always Possible. I've documented NGO work through What Went Wrong book.
I'm a self-directed person, to quote you. That perhaps is the problem with those who don't like you. And they say, she does not listen.
No, self-direction does not mean you don't listen. Oh yeah, I'm willing to change for the better all the time. But once I've heard you, and once I know my purpose, and I sense my duty, I do that. I don't please you. I don't please anybody. But as I know the law of nature, you reap as you sow. I sow the right thing, I reap the right thing.
And you ruffle feathers.
That's their problem, not mine. That's not my problem. I don't look around acceptances. That's my duty. This is the law. This is the rule. This is the need. This is the need. And this is fair and just. Go by that and you will not go off track. You will take the right decision. In the end, it may cause issues and ruffles, as you said, ruffle the feathers. But in the end, they lose their own feathers.
Now that we are going back years, long years, let me take you through the time when you challaned the Prime Minister's car and then later was called for breakfast.
I think Mrs. Gandhi was, in a way, had a soft, had a great respect. I think there was a lot of mutual respect. She called me for breakfast when I led the 1975 Republic Day parade, because that's the time, for the first time, a woman led a male parade and walked around the Republic Day. Prime Minister's car was stowed away as a part of general policy. The policy to rank and file was no ups and downs, no VIPs, non-VIPs. Anybody violating the traffic law gets prosecuted. This Sub-Inspector Nirmal Singh was outside in Connaught Place, and he saw a car passed and blocking the whole road of the outer circle. And he said, "Ye gaadi hata do, because you're blocking half of the road." He said, "Jante nahi ye kiski gaadi?" मैं नहीं जानता, ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर हाउस की गाड़ी. तो उन्होंने कहा, कोई बात नहीं, आप चलो सामने, प्लीज मूव अप, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. ही सेड नहीं, ही resisted. He says, नहीं है, तो फिर पॉलिसी साफ है. He brought the crane and then towed it away. And he sent me a message. He says, ma'am, वो आर तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर हाउस की गाड़ी भी उठ गई. तो ऐसे शाबाश, बहुत अच्छा किया. So Nirmal Singh was appreciated, and he's gone down the memory lane for everybody. But the question is, he and I both got transferred a few months after. But that's it. So be it.
You mentioned cranes, and you were nicknamed, if I recall right, Kiran Bedi instead of Kiran Bedi.
Yes,
so take me through that.
We had no cranes when I took over traffic Kumkum. there was just 2 cranes for all of Delhi. And I was every morning leaving home at 8 o'clock to clean up the roads for people to drive fast. And then I asked for a crane. And I asked the driver, how do I get it? He said, ma'am, crane hai, lekin kharab hai, it's in the workshop. So I said, so ye roz kya hum buses ko dhakke marenge roz? Logon ka sara jam lage hue. So there was no answer. So I called my officers and I said, do we have private cranes? There are private cranes. They said, yes, ma'am. How many private cranes? They said, about 16 private cranes. I said, can we not hire them? But we don't have the money to hire them. I said, no problem. They will earn as they pick, and we will do a prosecution. All 16 cranes within a week were deployed with a microphone and a traffic officer, and then, so we had 2 prosecutions. They would give their own ticket, and we will give our own ticket. So you had from no cranes to 16 cranes doing microphone saying, Gaadi hata lo varna crane. So people were being warned, कि हटा लो नहीं तो क्रेन आ रही है. करते करते एक रिक्शे वाले ने कहा, मैडम ये क्रेन पे दी आ रही है. So it was a rickshaw puller say, हट जाओ, crane पे दी आ रही है. He couldn't say crane, he said crane. I think that spread.
I remember your daughter, when I think she was 4 or 6, always called you Mama Police.
Yeah.
Does she still do that?
No more. Now it's mummy. Now it's mummy. But my nephews still call me Mama Puli.
Take me through the moments in your life and career that you would like to forget. And I know you're going to say none.
You're right. You're so right. Every part of my career was worth it. It's not about which posting. I think every posting had a message, including a posting where there was no work.
Which is?
I got a posting as Joint Commissioner Police Training, Policy Planning. So I went to my commissioner after Tihar when I was not acceptable. It was those days when after Tihar they just brought me out and now I was not acceptable. So they wanted me non-people posting, not people, not even prisoners posting, non-people. So when they gave me this non-people posting, I was posted as Joint Commissioner Policy Planning and Implementation. I took charge, I reported, and I went to my then police commissioner and I said, sir, could you please explain me what is policy planning and implementation? He said, Kiran, do you have a car? I said, yes, sir. You have a stenographer? I said, yes, sir. And you have an office, a personal? I think, yes, sir. That's it. What do you think I did with it? I immediately put in a request for a study leave because I had already got the Nehru Scholarship to write. I went to write my prison work.
Would you still agree, or perhaps disagree, that many of your postings have been punishment postings?
You call them punishment postings? I think they were opening door policies. They were actually putting them into a situation which allowed me to open new vistas, do something different because it had never been done. Even police training, when I got that, they didn't even have a training policy. And brought in computers for the first time. I went and met Mr. Advani at that time. We did not have money. We had no computer training and there was no money and there was a computer course for sub-inspectors and there was no computer. And I found they were drawing the computer on the board. Yay, computer looks like this. I said, what are you cheating? So I went to Mr. Advani. He was then Home Minister and the deputy. And I said, sir, I straightway told him. I said, so would you call this a controversy? I said, sir, इस बारी जो हमारे सब इंस्पेक्टर्स हैं, मैं आपको ये बताने आई हूँ कि सर कोई पास नहीं होगा. Because ये क्या हुआ? I said, sir, वो कोई कंप्यूटर के चैप्टर में पास नहीं होगा पेपर में, because there are no computers, sir. How can I pass them when they've not done any computer training? That's a paper. He straightway said, चाहिए क्या? What do you want? Sir, I want a computer lab. I have no computer lab. I have no library. I have no simulator, sir. I didn't get one. I got all.
So 16 cranes, computer lab, simulator. You've done well.
Oh, I've done very well for myself. I mean, I feel so happy. So I have enjoyed whatever I chose to do and take it up as a responsibility. That's it.
I know you've been very close and had a very close relationship with your parents. Let me take you down memory lane and a sentimental journey. Between your parents, who's had a greater influence on your life, your father or mother?
They were 200%, and you know them. They were 200%. Mummy was 100%, Daddy was 100%, and I gave myself 100%. We are a 300% family. I was truly blessed that I had a mother and father who had a vision for their daughters, not only just me, all the daughters to be self-reliant. And I think they've left me self-reliant.
Do you miss the uniform? And between politics and police, if given a choice, what would you prefer?
Never politics. That's not my nature. Because politics for me is, barring exceptions, is transactional. I'm not transactional by nature. I don't give and take. I give. And policing is all giving. That's why I love the uniform. And I can love to give all my life. I've loved giving, but let me tell you, I don't miss it because I found other ways of giving.
Dr. Kiran Bedi, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Kumkum. So wonderful to catch up with you yet again.